John, I'm sure you saw last night before Clockgate in Los Angeles. Like the NBA wants Golden State and the Lakers so bad that they decided to elongate the game by another 20 damn minutes last night. You can't get them in a 7-game playoff series. You may not even get them in a play-in, depending on how things shake out, even though that's what it looks like. So the NBA said, hey, y'all, let's just keep this party going. Somebody pressed the Buffalo Wild Wings button, and the clock was messing up, and the officials were reviewing stuff that took 5 seconds to handle. And poor Mike Breen. Mike Breen has never criticized the officials a day in his life. And even he was like, come on, y'all. What are we doing here? But aside from that, we got to see how critically important Anthony Davis is to the Los Angeles Lakers. Critically important. Because it was a freeway to the basket as soon as he got hit in the eye. And he looked like he got hit in the eye in a way that's going to cost him some games. Like, he's going to be walking around with sunglasses and Advil for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, he got hit pretty damn good, and he missed the rest of the game. And you got to see the effect if that player is not on the floor. And that's not to say that Anthony Davis is the best player on the Lakers and everything else. Like, that's a moot conversation at this point, especially on a game where LeBron James scored 40 points or 40 whatever, and hit that leaning left-hander, but the inches of his chin were on the out of bounds line, and it was taken away, and that led to the first of like 1.5 million reviews. And the league should, I'm not going to fuss at the league for getting it right, because we tell the league all the time, get it right, use the technology to get it right, and that's what the technology was there for. It just took way too damn long, and then the technology actually messed up on the shot clock. But you always get the feeling, John, and tell me if I'm wrong. You always get the feeling that people look at the Warriors and Lakers after they play one of these classic games. They had a Saturday night game, I think sometime in January, like the double overtime game. It was an ABC game, a Saturday night game. And you always get the feeling in the immediate aftermath that people are like, okay, these teams can go on a run. And I'm like, am I missing something here? Did y'all not see these teams play each other? I'm not saying these are two glass Joes, but I'm saying they're at the bottom of the Western Conference playoff picture for a reason. And because they've been so exposed to us, we tend to overrate the wins. We tend to way overrate the losses. And I don't think people understand, John, the situation that both teams are facing. Okay, John, you win the 9-10 game, no matter who it is. Let's say the Lakers win the 9-10 game. They're in the 9-10. Golden State might actually be at home for that game. So let's say the Lakers go on the road and they win the 9-10 game. They beat Golden State. They knock Golden State out. Then you got to go to 7-8 on the road again 2 days later and win that game. And then maybe you get in, right? So let's say you win both of those games on the road, and then you're in. And you're in as the 8th seed. And you could be staring down the barrel of the Denver Nuggets, or staring down the barrel of the Minnesota Timberwolves, or maybe staring down the barrel of the Oklahoma City Thunder, with 2 more games on the road. So you will have played 4 straight games on the road to start your playoff. Where they do that at? Like, at what point will the fatigue of playing high stakes playoff basketball catch up with you before you even have a chance to get in the series? You'll be down 0-2 and emotionally spent because of everything that you've done to get to this point. Now, that's not just the Lakers, that's Golden State, that's whomever. But as great as it is for the regular season, John, because this is great for the regular season. Don't make any mistake on what I'm saying here. I am a fan of the play-in. I think it would be really compelling to watch Dallas have to fight off Golden State and LA for the 8th seed. Like, that would be really fun. But I like the fact that it's created more compelling matchups from now until the end of the regular season. Every game, unless you're the Boston Celtics, means something. Or the Detroit Pistons, or Charlotte, or Atlanta, or Washington, or whomever. But by and large, if you're a team worth a damn, every game is going to mean something because you're fighting for some level of playoff positioning. But it leaves you so spent. And I don't think that people truly, in my opinion, John, I don't think people truly understand the toll that it's going to take on these guys. Because we want spring Steph, we want spring LeBron. Man, I don't know if they're going to have all these games left in their bodies to get through the play-in and then to get into a first-round series and make it competitive. Maybe I'm tripping.
You're not tripping. I'm going to dip very slightly into a thing that we've been talking about off air for better part of a week. Maybe we'll dig into more on Wednesday. But the worst thing for this situation is that Miami Heat did this last year. They got in as a play-in team. They made it all the way to the finals. There was always going to be, with or without a play-in, there was always going to be, hey, do you think LeBron and the Lakers can turn it on and go on a run? Do you think Steph and the Warriors can turn it on and go on a run? We've been doing this with superstars forever, but now it's harder to dismiss it because the Miami Heat did it last year. We saw it with our own eyes. So you can sit here and be like, it's too tiring. It's too exhausting. You can't do it. And someone's going to be like, well, then explain Miami last year. I'll explain Miami last year. You want to hear the explanation as to why it happened for Miami last year and can't happen for the Warriors, the Lakers this year? The East is trash. That's the difference. Like, the Miami Heat get in last year, they're not playing the Denver Nuggets until the finals. So I think the West is so much better than the East right now, and it's a thing we don't talk about enough.
No, we don't.
That teams getting in the play-in in the East maybe have a chance of going on a run. Teams that get in the play-in in the West, that's like Jake
getting led to slaughter. That's all.
Yeah, on No Cap Room, Jake and Dan were talking about people keep calling the Western Conference playoffs a bloodbath waiting, right? And Jake was like, I don't want to use that word. So instead, I think we called it a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet. And like, there is nobody in the Western Conference Finals or in the Western Conference playoffs that anyone else wants to play. They are all difficult teams.
Yep.
And on the other side of the bracket, like the Bulls and the Hawks are probably going to be in the play-in, and everyone wants to play those teams. So it's different. I don't think anyone coming out of the Western Conference play-in has a chance of making it even to the Western Conference Finals.
Health will, we all know that health will play a big role in this, especially Minnesota with Karl Towns, Rudy Gobert. Like, you always have to have the caveat of health, certainly. And whenever you have Steph Curry in a 7-game series, LeBron James in a 7-game series, presumably, and Anthony Davis in a 7-game series, you give yourself a puncher's chance. The question is, how much snap is in those punches? The question is, how much do those guys have left? And here's the other question, I think, John. Steve Kerr has gotten handsomely rewarded for all the things that he's done previously and in this new coaching economy, right? 2-year extension coincides with Stephen Curry and all of that. Both the Lakers and Golden State have the tools in hand, have the 1 through 12. The answer is somewhere on the roster. Are you saying that you'd rather have a coach who has to decide if the answer is there that night? Or would you rather have the coach that says, I got my 8.5. I got my 8 guys that I'm playing. And not that I got to tinker with Pods, or I got to tinker with Chris Paul, or I got to tinker with Kevon Looney, or Trace Jackson Davis because he's got hops, or how am I going to use Kuminga? Like, it's going to take a stellar coaching job, almost a perfect coaching job, because of the mistakes and errors by both franchises leading up into this point. They have to play perfect basketball, and perfect basketball has to be coached and coaxed out of both teams. And I don't think either team doesn't have the margin for error, and I think that's putting up too much on the coaches. That's my opinion. It's hard for me to fathom both of those teams. And you're talking to a person that loves being in San Francisco and loves being in LA. So I ain't hating. You asking me, Vinny, you better hang out in Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Denver, or LA and San Francisco? Give me Cali me every time, right? Every time. But I got to be realistic with y'all.